That was an onside kick in the Cardinals versus Eagles game, which obviously is going to live in infamy as an Eagles fan. Heading into this game, I legitimately thought the Eagles could take the second overall seed, first place in the NFC East, and maybe they wouldn't make it to the Super Bowl, but I was like, okay, at least the Eagles can make it to the divisional round and have a somewhat successful season. And then I saw this game. I didn't see it, but I heard about it and realized the Eagles found a way to lose to the Cardinals. The Cardinals, look at their record heading into the game. They were 8 games back of the Eagles. 8 games back. I think I got the 8 down. But that was the onside kick. And it's received a lot of mixed reviews. This is why I think if I'm a Cardinals fan, why I would have approved of the kick, and why as an Eagles fan, even though I thought it was the dumbest thing ever, it really wasn't. And we're going to break this down looking at the recap. And what you got to understand with the Arizona Cardinals is they were moving the ball at will in this game. Like, they were truly moving the ball at will. And the Eagles weren't. The Eagles, genuinely were not moving the ball. They had to punt multiple times, settle for a field goal. They even got picked off at the end, although, to be fair, the interception did occur in a Hail Mary. However, you look at this. The Cardinals were moving the ball at will. And they were doing it on long, sustained drives. This drive, 7 minutes and 46 seconds, and they made it all the way to the Philadelphia 3-yard line before they wound up fumbling, but then they recovered the fumble, and they had to settle for a field goal. This Eagles touchdown was a Cardinals drive. They managed to make it to the Philadelphia 20-yard line, but then Kyler Murray got sacked, and Sidney Brown intercepted a pass and ran it 99 yards for a touchdown. But again, that was a 4-minute drive for the Cardinals that wound up in a pick six. But they were still moving the ball in that case. And then when they went for a field goal, a 10-minute drive that only went 63 yards, because all it did was make it to the Philadelphia. Oh God, it keeps going to the Philadelphia 16-yard line. And this is what I'm saying. The Cardinals were moving the ball at will in long, sustained drives. Obviously, with only 16 seconds left, they couldn't do enough there. And then they come out of the halftime break. They're firing on all cylinders. Touchdown. They forced the Eagles to go. Was this a 3-and-out? Yep, a 3-and-out. And again, touchdown drive. One takes 6 minutes, one takes 5 minutes. And then the next one takes 4.5 minutes. And now the Eagles are struggling to move the ball efficiently, although I think this was in an attempt to kill clock. Now you have the onside kick. So this game truly was a shootout. And I know I don't like to say a shootout for games that were comebacks. And the Eagles obviously built up to a 21-6 lead that they wound up blowing. But this really was a shootout. This was really who was the better offense, because the Cardinals and the Eagles had some defensive moments, like obviously the Eagles, their pick six. For the Cardinals, it was when they got 3-and-outs on the Eagles. It was when they picked them off to secure the win. That was when the Cardinals had good defense, but it was mostly an offensive game. And now you have to worry if the offense is killing the clock this much at will. You saw what the Eagles did. By the time that they got this on the kickoff, there was, as you can see, about 5.5 minutes left. The Cardinals actually legitimately had to worry about the Philadelphia Eagles and their ability to potentially run out the clock from there. If you kick it off deep and it gets blasted into the end zone and it goes to the Philadelphia 25-yard line, If your defense can't make a stop, they might just kill out the clock on you. Or drive the field goal range, kill clock, and kick a game-winning field goal. But obviously, you don't want to play for overtime if you don't have to. So even if it ended 28-28, that wouldn't exactly, satisfy them. So they go for the onside kick, which of course takes place at the Cardinals' 35-yard line, and it travels towards their 45-yard line. And obviously, if the Eagles recover it, then they are practically already in field goal range. But the catch was, that was a surprise onside kick. Normally, you onside kick it when you absolutely have to. And with these new rules, you almost never do a surprise onside kick. Because if you do a surprise onside kick and you don't recover it, then they get a really short field. In this case, though, the Cardinals would almost want to give the Eagles a short field. They'd want them to do something because even if the Eagles score a touchdown, you can't kill that much clock if you only have, less than half the field to work with. And in this case, there was a penalty on the offsides. That actually might have helped the Cardinals because it put the ball from the 44-yard line of the Cardinals to the 39-yard line of the Cardinals. And Jake Elliott and how pretty much, even if you were in that situation, I know that you might punt, but if you're at the 44-yard line, you might be kicking that field goal. Elliott has hit from 61 yards before. It's not too unrealistic for him to be able to hit from 62. That would only be one extra yard. I know it's a huge gamble, but it might be worth it in that kind of a situation. But obviously for the Eagles, they drove down to the 20-yard line of Arizona, but then there was offensive holding on that on the next play, and the Cardinals accepted it because they'd rather have 1st and 20 than 2nd and 10. And it makes sense because if you assume the Eagles are going to kick a field goal, from either way, if it's 2nd and 10, they really have 5 yards per play to get the first. But with this, they had 6.7 approximately that they had to get. And if they're at the 30-yard line, it's tough. But Elliott has missed kicks. And if you can sack the Eagles, it would make that. And at the very least, if it's 1st and 20, they can't kill clock. And that was the whole thing. They did a lot of these runs and passes, and a lot of it, and the Cardinals had timeout, so they could stop the runs. Really, the fact this drive even took 3 minutes is impressive, but the Cardinals did this for a reason. Because look at it now, you pretty much, the Eagles can't shun clock effectively, and they really need to pick up the first down to be able to kill clock more effectively. And now for the Eagles, you just have to hope that the Arizona Cardinals, they were doing long distance drives. You just have to hope the Cardinals couldn't make it there and would have to settle for a field goal to send it to OT. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. And a lot of it came down to the kickoff, which, obviously in a kickoff, you try to blast into the end zone. And I could see why Jake Elliott would do this, to pin them deep. But the end result literally was worse than had they kicked it off deep. Because now the Cardinals were able to get a 26-yard kickoff return, and they're able to make it to the Arizona 30-yard line. And they were, being aggressive here. They made a 36-yard pass, and they killed the clock down too, because they knew they were at the Philadelphia 5-yard line, and they killed that clock. They killed it to pretty much give the Eagles only 30 seconds left to mount the drive. And they made it to the Philadelphia 49-yard line, and then their Hail Mary pass was intercepted. So that was that horror. But now what I want to talk about is the notion of, was going for the onside kick correct here? Should Gannon have done that? And I don't think most coaches would have gone for the field goal there, because it's an incredibly bold and risky move. Incredibly bold and risky move that could have failed big time. But with the nature of this game, with it being based on long sustained drives, I actually will say this was probably the correct call. Because with this play, what you wanted to do was you wanted to kill clock. You wanted to kill clock if you were the Eagles. If the Cardinals kicked it off deep, there was a realistic chance they would never touch the ball again. And that's the risk. The risk of kicking it off deep is that they never touch the ball again. Eagles can kick a game-winning field goal. They can win 31-28, or they can pretty much leave no time left on the clock where the Cardinals have to go for a Hail Mary. Seeing as how the Eagles' Hail Mary failed, obviously, yes, that can be catastrophic. So that's the risk of kicking it off deep. The reward is that if they had got a 3-and-out on the Eagles, made them, or the Eagles got a penalty, say, and then they couldn't convert, obviously the Eagles would be punting the ball to the Cardinals with the game tied, and the Cardinals would have more time to work with, and at that point, all they would have to do is kick a field goal, and then they win the game. So that's the reward of going for it. That's the reward. That's a reward of kicking off deep. Now the onside kick obviously is the risk of, if the Eagles can score a touchdown, you're giving them shorter field. But the reward is they can't kill clock nearly as effectively because they have a shorter field to work with. So at some point, if the Eagles aren't careful, they could accidentally get a touchdown, which in this Cardinals-Eagles game could have been fatal to the Eagles. Because this is a case where sometimes teams try very hard not to score a touchdown right away, because then they have to kick it off or do an onside kick that's really not going to work. But I'm going to be honest. This is a move that I thought was dumb, but then official Jago get a 9 proved how this really wasn't that dumb of a decision. I thought about it and I realized, you know what? This decision actually isn't that dumb, because when you break it all down, it made sense. It made sense. No matter how you want to slice it, this was really the better decision. It also proved aggression. It proved that Jonathan Gannon is going to be very aggressive in this spot.